Well, we'd like to welcome you to Sunday service. For those who don't know us, my name's Anandi. This is my husband, Bharat. We want to welcome all of you who are here for the first time, and also to say congratulations to our yoga teacher training graduates. It's been wonderful to have you with us this month. So I'd like to begin with a reading from Rays of the One Light. These are parallel passages on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita written by Swami Kriyananda. This week's reading is called The Redeeming Light. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The book of Isaiah in the Bible, chapter 9, tells us, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined." What is this light of which so many scriptures speak? In Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, we read of an early experience the Master had with that light. I was blessed about the age of 8 with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Lahiri Mahashaya. This experience gave intensification to my divine love. While at our family estate in Ichapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, Mother frantically motioned me to look at Lahiri Mahashaya's picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I gazed at his photograph and saw there a blinding light enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms disappeared. I was well. At once I felt strong enough to bend over and touch Mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her Guru. Mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. O omnipresent Master, I thank thee that thy light hath healed my son. I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I had instantly recovered from a usually fatal disease. Where my light is, God once told a saint whom the divine light had healed, no darkness can dwell. The divine light, pure, calm, liberating, is the only final cure for every kind of delusion, ill health, emotional grief, and spiritual ignorance. Seek it daily in the silence, in deep meditation. As the Bhagavad Gita says in the 5th chapter, "For whom that darkness of the soul is chased by light, splendid and clear shines manifest the truth, as if a sun of wisdom sprang to shed its beams of light." Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
I'd like to begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity, mystical poems written by Paramahansa Yogananda, and these were edited by Swami Kriyananda. I come to thee with the song of my smiles. Whatever treasures have lain in the secrecy of my soul, I bring eagerly to thee. I bring thee all the honey from the hive of my heart. All that was ever mine is now thine alone. The sunlight of this world shining upon my eager hopes and brief fickle fulfillments burn me repeatedly with dissatisfaction. Now I will quench my thirst forever in thy radiant waters. The taper of my aspiration towards happiness will burst aflame with thy coming into a conflagration of bliss. In thy vast, enchanting sea of light, I will swim joyfully forever. Teach me to drown in thee and live, rather than live in a mirage paradise of earthliness and die. Oops, excuse me. You can tell a lot about a church's theology by the type of messages it puts on its bulletin boards. There was one church that put, if you think it's hot here, and then a few weeks later, they had, you don't want me, you don't want to make me come down. And but I think God has come down to us. I just love Swami's description of the divine light, pure, calm, liberating, and just that sense. Swami has talked about how out of all natural manifestation, light is the subtlest and the freest of all material dependence than anything else. There's a beautiful story of a man who was a young teenager when he worked against the Nazis in France. And as a young child, he went blind and he couldn't see outwardly. But he said that from the moment I was blind, I saw the inner light. And then he said, but whenever I became impatient, whenever I thought ill of other people, that light went away. And it was very pronounced with him because that was the only light he saw. And so he had a special yearning to be in touch with the light. And then he went on and he was thrown in a concentration camp with about 600 of his colleagues. And he said that I became very ill, but then the light came back to me. And I saw everything sustained by that light and lived by that light. And once that light was there, I didn't have to look out for myself. And he said, none of us really have to look out for ourselves. We just have to be in the light. And because he couldn't see the physical light, then it was very dramatic whenever the inner light disappeared from his life. There's a very interesting, intriguing story of Sri Yukteswar when he was a young man, disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya. And this was with his, he had met Babaji, but he didn't know it was Babaji at a Kumbh Mela. And then he met Babaji, but Babaji, when he went to get some sweetmeats, he came back and Babaji was gone. And so he felt very disappointed. And then a few months later, he was visiting his guru, Lahiri Mahashaya. And Lahiri, as many of you know, blessed Sri Yukteswar. And Lahiri pointed, and Sri Yukteswar, he saw Babaji there by the doorway. And Sri Yukteswar didn't bow down to Babaji. And Lahiri, it said in the autobiography of Yogi, it said Lahiri Mahashaya was astonished. And Sri Yukteswar was still hurt that Babaji had disappeared. And Babaji said, you're displeased with me. And Sri Yukteswar said, you came out of the sky and you were there like magic with your disciples, then you vanished in the sky again. And then Babaji said that you were too excited and you were too restless, and I was fairly extinguished by that. And he said that you need to meditate more, and your gaze is still not faultless, and you couldn't see me behind the sunshine. And Swami talks about that whenever we have a physical desire, we can't see the inner light. And it's very interesting that we've paralleled the affirmation about getting rid of all attachments, because we have to take our gaze away from things of this world if we're going to see the inner light. The whole purpose of moral behavior is to help us to experience God and to see God as light, and to not be yearning or for anything that is material. Then we can't see anything that is more subtle. The Lahiri Mahashai talks about how in samadhi there's always light. Well, I don't know how many of us have experienced samadhi, but every spiritual experience is filled with light. In the autobiography, Paramahansa Yogananda tells a beautiful story of a Mr. Dickinson who, as a 5-year-old boy, was playfully pushed by one of his friends into a river, and it was very deep, about 15 feet, and he was only 5 and he couldn't swim. And he was afraid he was going to drown. And then Mr. Dickinson saw this blaze of light, and in that light he saw a saintly man just with a very calm gaze smiling at him. And he knew that everything was going to be okay. And one of his friends reached down with a stick and was able to pull him out of the water. And then 12 years later, when Mr. Dickinson was 17, he was in Chicago at the World Parliament of Religions, and he saw the light again. And then he saw just a few feet away from him Swami Vivekananda, a great saint from India. And he went into this hallway. And so quickly, Mr. Dickinson and his mother went in and heard him speak. And he thought, this must be my guru. But Mr. Dickinson was told that, no, your guru will come later, and he will pour such amount of grace into your life later on when you can receive more. And so later on, Mr. Dickinson became a disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda and Kriyaban, and thought, well, this great saint, Vivekananda, said that your guru will give you a silver cup. Well, it had been 43 years, and he'd never received the silver cup, and he thought that was just metaphorical, that I've received so many blessings from my guru that maybe he was just talking about that. But then at Christmas night, Yogananda gave him a gift, and as he held the gift in his hands, even before he opened it, he saw the light for the third time, and God was there again. And he opened it up, and there was the silver cup. And the light is really the descent of spirit into this world, and of God's presence as it comes. Yogananda, he had a dream in 1915. He just had been initiated into the Swami order. And it was during the time that World War I had just started, and Yogananda was very sad at the suffering and the killing, loss of life that was happening in World War I. And he had a vision of the eternal light, and he saw all life as being unified in that light, and life wasn't limited by that life. And and the vision that he had was that he was a captain of a battleship, and this battleship was attacked and sunk, and Yogananda, as the captain, swam ashore, and as he came on the beach, he was hit by a bullet and died. And then he saw a blaze of light, and the light said that what does life and death have to do with my light? I've made you in the image of my light. And that's what we have to try to live more and more by. Uh, it was either Swami or Master, I've forgotten now, but said that it's long concentration on the spiritual eye frees us from all materiality. And I just love Swami's visualization on the spiritual eye. You know, all our practices that we do, all our meditations and energization, yoga postures, everything is to try to bring that energy up to the spiritual eye. And so we have a lot of momentum that is trying to take us there. And in the Bible, it says that we should pray believing. And Swami talks about that when we do Kriya, we should do Kriya with a sense of privilege. We should believe in the reality of the spiritual eye. You know, we're making our efforts, and we might say, well, gee, I don't see the inner light, or spiritual experiences, they don't come to me. It reminds me of one of the monks in the early years of Ananda. He was meditating, and then all of a sudden he saw the inner light. And then he was very excited, and then a few seconds later he heard the thunder. And it was lightning. And sometimes our efforts seem to be like that. But, you know, God comes to us like the thief in the night. And as Swami has said, so we haven't maybe earned that consciousness all the time, but God gives us an experience so that it's real to our consciousness, that we can pray believing. Last November, Anandi and I, we went on vacation to Point Reyes, and as we were walking along the beach, we saw this really big shorebird with a long bill. And you don't see this particular bird very often. And we had our binoculars, and I asked Anandi, take a look at this bird and tell me what you see. Can you name 8 things that you see about this bird? And Nani didn't know what bird it was, but it was a really distinguished bird. And she looked at it very intently, and she saw how its knees went backwards and the pattern around its neck and a lot of these other things. And then I asked Anandi, about 3 months later, can you remember anything about that bird? And she was able to just very easily describe all those things that she noticed, and it was very real. And you know, if you sometimes we see things far away, and you know, I know with trying to teach people about birds, if they haven't had any experience with birds, it's just a little speck, and there's no magnetism to it. But when I see something, I have all these associations because I'm familiar with the bird, and it really means something to me. Well, it's the same way with different, you know, divine experiences. Is that the more they're real to our consciousness, the more that we can pray believing and do our practices with a sense of privilege. And let's say that, well, maybe we haven't had that experience, but it's Master has given this promise that when we interiorize our energy, that the inner light becomes clear and in steady focus. And we can do things to create that kind of magnetism, and things will come in God's time. But when God is convinced that we want only Him and His reality, well, then there's nothing keeping Him from coming to us. And just I know I've talked about Swami's spiritual eye meditation before, so I won't go into the whole thing. It can be found in his book, Awaken to Superconsciousness, and also on the meditation support site on Ananda Online. But as he talks about going through the outer golden ring, that we experience a glorious sense of freedom and happiness, and that, you know, freedom of the physical body. And then as we enter into the field of blue, we go through that tunnel, but then into a vast field of blue. And our consciousness becomes spherical. And we feel bliss all around us. And then as we go into the star, we offer every thought, every feeling, you know, all things from all 3 worlds. We're just giving back to that star. Our body is a condensation of that star. And Swami encourages us to open our arms like this and our legs. And as we go into that star with just a real reverential sense of giving ourselves totally into the light of that star and just feeling ourselves dissolving into that light. Well, this meditation gives us such a beautiful feeling for what we're trying to do, and so that we can pray believing and give our heart to it. Swami talks about that whenever we can do whatever we're doing with concentration, we can experience the benefits by 100 times if we just do things consciously. And that's what doing things with a sense of privilege means, is having a full sense of the import of what we're doing, of the grace that we've been given. We've come into this world through the spiritual eye, and we come back into the infinite, back through the spiritual eye. I often think of the story of the prodigal son. The child didn't have to return all the way home to the father before the father came running out to greet the son. He just had to turn in the direction of the father, and the father came running joyfully to bring the child back home. And that's the way it is, isn't it? As we come closer and closer to Spirit, is that we feel the divine benevolence reaching out and bringing us home. And of course, our yearning becomes greater and greater. I would like to end with some words that Swami ended his talk when he was in New Delhi. He was talking to our congregation there. It was the day of his birthday. And Swami, of course, will be coming in just a few days to Ananda village. And just seeing the amount of work that is going on to get ready for his visit, and the joyful dedication has been very inspiring, that everything has happened in the village. But I'd like to read these words, because these I'll explain more after I read them. This is what he said. So please help me in this work, because I am doing it for you, not me. I've got it. If you don't have it, this is how you get it. And it's not just looking at the spiritual eye, it's really having the whole flow of our life reaching up in expansive giving and identifying with our larger reality. And, all of Ananda, whether you live in Iowa, Nigeria, or wherever, there are just so many ways that we can serve the light from this path, or just the light itself. And Swami Kriyananda said the true disciple is one who shares the consciousness of the Guru. And we can do that in so many ways, outwardly, and bringing this wonderful work into greater manifestation, so the light can be ever stronger in this world. But then also interiorly, we can withdraw our energy and not seek outside ourselves, but seek for the jewel inside ourselves, to experience the inner light, unconditional love, and joy and bliss ever more dynamically within ourselves. Then we will be able to share it with other people, and the world will notice. God bless you.